Today we looked at histograms in class. And so I'm going to set up this histogram with you. And the instructions tell us that we need 5 bins. In other words, we need to break our data up into 5 different sets utilizing even intervals. So I'm going to create my frequency chart. And within this frequency chart, I'm going to use the interval 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 to 12, and 13 to 15. And so within each of these bins, my data that is strung across next to 1 will be categorized. So in order to make sure I don't make any mistakes on this, I'm going to check these off as I use them. So 4, 10, 12, 13, 14, 12, 6, 2, 2, 5, 6, 1, 10, 1, 2, 5, 12, 6, 8, 3, 5, 5, almost there, 9, 1, 3, 12. And so now that we have assigned all of our data, we can create a histogram. And I realize this is a bit of a limited space, so I'm going to try to fit it on here so I don't have to use a separate sheet of paper. You do what you need to in class. But looks like my bin that has the largest amount of data are these first 3, which would be frequencies of 8. So I need my vertical line axis, my y-axis, to go up to at least 8 on its frequency. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then each of my bins will go across the bottom here. So 1 to 3. 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 to 12, 13 to 15. Next step is to make my bars that represent the frequency. So 1 to 3 was used 8 times, so I'm going to come over from the 8. I want to be able to see my hash marks, so I'm going to give myself just a little bit of space there. My next frequency, 4 to 6, is also 8. My next frequency, or interval, is 7 to 9. It's got a frequency of 2. My next interval is 10 to 12. It has a frequency of 6. And my last interval is 13 to 15, also has a frequency of 2. And so with this data, we would definitely have a heavy set of skewedness off to the left side, or heavy set of data off to the left side, so I would go ahead and call it skewed right. And that would complete problem 1. Just so we get a sense for how to answer some questions that relate to the histogram. I'll make sure you can see the graph so I can read the question. Question A, which time interval had the greatest number of phone calls? Well, my y-axis is showing the frequency, and my x-axis is showing the time intervals, and the greatest number of phone calls came from this middle column here. That was 10 to 14 minutes. How many phone calls were greater than 19 minutes? Well, I need to look where 19 shows up on the list. These 2 columns on the end would represent 25 phone calls were 20 to 24 minutes. And 10 phone calls were 25 to 29 minutes. So 25 plus 10 would be 35 calls. Which interval is the median represented? Well, in order to do this, I need to know the total quantity of phone calls. So I have 15, 35, 40, 25, 25, and 10. And so I'm going to use my calculator to add those up. 15 plus 35 plus 40 plus 25 plus 25 plus 10 gives me 150 total minutes. 150 total calls. Which means my 75th call, because I can divide that number by 2, my 75th call and my 76th call will be my 2 that represent the median. And so I'm going to add up, and I'll hold the calculator over here so you can see how I do this. I'm going to add up these terms until I find which one of these intervals I have to add to get my 75th and 76th phone calls, which would be my median. So 15 plus 35 would give me 50 total phone calls. That would not include my 75th and 76th phone call. Then I will add 40 more. That gives me 90. Well, that would give me the indication that between the 50th phone call and the 90th phone call fall within this tall bar here that included the 10 to 14 minute interval. And 75 to 76 are between 50 and 90, so that would be the interval in which my median phone call is represented. So between 10 and 14 minutes. And then last question, how many phone calls were there in total? We already determined that to be 150 calls. Hopefully that gives you a good start on your homework, and we will discuss the remainder of the answers tomorrow in class.